Welcome, everyone, to our North Dakota Association of Regional Councils resource call today. Today, we're going to be talking about tourism and welcoming visitors to our communities. Thank you all for taking the time to join us this morning. We will be recording the call and putting it on our NDARC website so you can access it there later. Today, I'm your presenter. I'm Andrea Bowman with the Roosevelt Custer Regional Council. And I won't claim to be a tourism expert by any means, but I have worked with people in communities most of my career, and I think that's really what tourism is all about. So we're going to visit about that today. We'll have some time for some questions and answers at the end, but I want this to be very interactive. So feel free to type in the chat or unmute your microphone as we go and add to the conversation because I think we all can learn from one another when it comes to this. I know it's a busy time of year. This is actually our last resource call for the season. We'll start up again in the fall, but we're taking the summer months off as we know people get busy with other things in the office. And I know some people are at the North Dakota Tourism Conference right now in Grand Forks. Part of our team just got back last night from that. So we just thank you for being here. I'm gonna share a few slides as we go, but like I said, I welcome you all to share from your experiences as we have our discussion. So today, really, our focus is looking at simple ways to prepare and train people in your community for visitors. And I think we use the word tourists a lot, and I just change it to visitors because in North Dakota, I think we have a maybe more defined tourism season because of our seasons of weather, but really it's about year-long visitors and getting them to stop along the road in our communities, maybe even come back again and potentially even decide to live there full time. So we're going to really focus on things today that you can do to encourage people to make that stop. Maybe encourage them to stay a little bit longer. And then, of course, we want them to come back and be repeat visitors in our communities. Today, the goal is really to share some of those maybe lower cost actionable items that you can implement in your communities right away from the get-go. In our Roosevelt Custer Regional Council, we completed a regional tourism strategic plan this last fall, and I think it was very eye-opening for us. We did one for a region and for one for each county. And that made us really step back and say, what are some quick actionable items that we can help our communities and counties work on right away? We know that we're anticipating an increase in visitors in especially the Southwest North Dakota, but in our state as a whole, as the opening of the presidential library. So looking at ways that we can work to provide resources for those people when they're making their visits to our state. I really like this quote, and I think, oops, maybe my slide doesn't want to go forward. Well, we were just stuck on the first slide. I'll just stop sharing and see if we can share again. So essentially, the next slide I have is just the quote from Maya Angelou, and I think it's really relevant to, there we go, to working with visitors and tourists in our communities. And it's just that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And so I think that's really something we need to keep in mind when we're working to get people to our communities, to our businesses, to our main streets, and getting them to come back again. And it's really about creating an experience for them. I have a question for you. I didn't create a poll, but does anyone know what percentage of people visit North Dakota before they move here? Any ideas? You can unmute or throw it in the chat.
Is it is it none?
No, it's higher than that. Any other guesses? We got one in the chat here. Um, Matt says, why can't I see your chat, Matt? Let me make it bigger. 10%? It's actually, I'll see if my slide will, well, it's actually 76%. And you're all, I should have done my slide the other way. So 70, what's happening? 76% of new residents visited North Dakota before moving here. Um, and so I think that we can probably easily correlate that. The percentages are probably a little different for every community across the state, but we know that most people visit the place that they're going to move to before they move there. So uh, creating that positive first impression is very important. And I want to spend some time talking about how we can build that community pride and get people to have a welcoming experience when they stop and visit. I think more than anything, people need to know the why it's important that we have visitors. Sometimes we get very comfortable in our communities and don't necessarily want a lot of extra people there, but that people need to understand that it is really a good thing that we have visitors. And more than anything, they spend a lot of money in our state. So these are the numbers for our state. Tax revenue for visitors coming in and seeing where they're spending money. Of course, lodging, food and beverages, a lot in transportation and recreation, which we know creates a lot of jobs in our state as well as small businesses, and then in retail. And this information is also available, oops, for each county. So if you have this conversation at a county level, you can, or regional level, you can break that data out into individual counties so people can get a feel for the direct impact that those dollars are having on the community and why that's really important to sustaining some of the services that are available to your long-term residents and also the people that are visiting there. This is just a breakdown. I won't spend a lot of time on this slide because I know it's really busy. But this is the data per county, and you can see how it correlates. These are the trends, and I think they're just maybe possibly released new numbers for this to include 2024. But you can see obviously most of our counties did dip down in 2020. Of course, when the pandemic was, when we saw for the most part across the state and across the counties an increase since then in economic growth due to visitors in the community. And keep in mind, these visitors can be from other states, but lots of times just from communities over visiting. Most of my travels across North Dakota these days are to my kids' sporting events, so I spend a lot of time visiting other communities um, in the state. Maybe not overnight, but at least for the day. So I just wanted you to have that resource that you can share when you start having these conversations with people and really about building community advocates. Um, we have determined that one of the quick wins is just having that conversation, especially with frontline workers, about why it's important that visitors have a positive experience in the community. But I think it's so much more than just frontline workers. Oftentimes, if people are just walking on the street, someone will stop and ask them a question about the community or where things are. So having that positive community mindset, that everyone is advocating for the community, the region, even our state is important. Now I know that not everybody will buy into this, and you're certainly not going to get the same message if you ask everyone in the community the same question. But the more we can do to get information out to people and just sharing the why this is important, is great. And I think this is a good time of year to do some preseason refreshers as we see some of our numbers increase. In Bowman here, we have a lot of travelers that come through Highway 12 and Highway 85. And most of the time, they're probably just stopping at one of our convenience stores. But we like to have conversations with the people that they're working with there and just reiterate to them like what a huge impact they have. And I really like to start that conversation of just thanking them. They are huge, whether they know it or not, and oftentimes they don't. They are huge advocates for your community, your frontline workers. And oftentimes the only impression, maybe face to person impression people have of your community. So the impact that they can have is very important. So, like to reiterate how important that first impression is. Providing quality customer service is also very important. If you have the opportunity to provide some customer service training in your area, um, that's always a big win. We have Jody Bruins from NDSU Extension. She'll be in the Southwest region the end of April doing some customer service training here in Bowman on April 29th and up in Dickinson on April 30th. And there's other organizations out there that provide some of those services. Think about social media campaigns. If you guys are like us, we're always struggling to think of things we can post on social media. So, a campaign about your community and advocating for your community can really be impactful. I'd like to have a conversation about building a connection with the area and with the travelers. And we always talk about having like that back pocket question. And in North Dakota, it's really easy for that back pocket question to be about the weather because it changes every day. So having that question in their pocket, some people are just struggle a little bit to have those conversations with people. So having some examples for them of how they can start a conversation with someone, even if they're just, checking out, buying their snacks as they head down the road, and how they can build that conversation into more of a kind of a 30-second pitch for your community or your business. And maybe it's just like, oh, you're just passing through. Well, if you've got a few extra minutes, we've got a great main street or we've got this great restaurant. They're really known for this. And just really knowing the story of the community in your region, and being able to kind of pitch that to people. I think one thing, yeah, people get asked a lot is what is there to do here? And oftentimes, maybe people might say, I don't know, or nothing. And so we just have to change our mindset in that, yeah, there really is a lot of things to do in our communities and things to see. And just because we see them every day, we take them for granted. And we know we can get coffee at that coffee shop every day and that they have some fun things, but that's maybe just something we take for granted. So, what are some of those things like you can encourage people to do? Maybe it's like, oh, you notice they have small kids. Like if you need some time to exercise, we've got some great parks in the community. And so that is one thing I found really powerful in the frontline workers just conversations is just getting people to think a little differently about how they answer those questions. Um, Knowing what businesses are open and when in the community, and having that local knowledge is very powerful. And recognizing that some of the people that are working these positions are also new to the community, so they don't necessarily know where to go for information or even know where everything is in the community. And then just being confident recommenders, like, oh, I really like to go here, or this is if you're, your community, your businesses are what you're promoting first, but think about regional campaigns as well, and thinking like, well, if you're, your next community down the road is this, if you're going to be there, I would stop and, they have a really fun coffee shop, or they've got some of the best ice cream. Have you ever been down the Enchanted Highway? Just things like that. Some people even ask for the best way to get to places. So having a place to go for that information is really important. And so some communities do a community guide. Some communities have a website with those resources. But more than anything, it's important that people know where to find that information in a timely manner. And so what we've even done is just send a little quick sheet, kind of a cheat sheet for frontline workers of like the places to eat, maybe the days of the week they're open, some of their hours, things like that. Does anyone have anything to add of things they've tried in their communities? Everyone's quiet today. The other thing, a quick win can be a wayfinding and then working on a digital footprint for communities. And so when we look at terms of, a digital footprint, this can be a pretty low cost thing for businesses to do. It takes some time, and of course, time is money. But if you go to a new community often, or you're passing through often, the first thing you'll do is a search to maybe where is there to eat. And I know there's different apps for fuels, finding the cheapest fuel in the area and things like that. Um, so helping businesses with that digital footprint can be really important. Um, you're having a Google listing helps people find you. And then that Facebook page or that website really helps people connect with you in your community. So thinking about how you can make that happen. If there's businesses that don't have that, like what are opportunities to help them out? And it could be, partnering with your library, maybe partnering some businesses with some high school kids to help them walk through some of those steps. There's a lot of different ways that you can provide that support. And again, it could be a social media campaign, just encouraging businesses to make sure that their Google listing, business listing, and social media pages are up to date. I even search on those locally when I don't remember exactly what time something opens or closes. And then another big thing is wayfinding. And I understand wayfinding can sometimes be kind of expensive if you're really going to make some investments in signage. But it's something to keep in mind. Um, and maybe it's not something you're going to work on every year, but if you can work on maybe that strategic plan of identifying um, what your top wayfinding needs are, and to make that happen eventually, because we take for granted knowing where things are in communities. So if we can encourage some signage, that's always a positive. You can do a quick little checklist and do like a community audit. Take an inventory of what you already have in the community, and this can be digital or wayfinding. Again, it can be a great way to involve some maybe different civic organizations or high school youth in the community to help with this. and really visiting the community from a mindset that you've never been there before. NDSU Extension has a community impressions program. It's a community exchange program. And so it's a lot more in depth than just a quick drive around the community. But that can be a really powerful tool to use as well. And you essentially exchange with another community and you do that deep dive into one another's communities. And think of, think in terms of what things look like. And signage, flower pots, lighting, those things all can cost money, but think of some of those quick wins you can have. Even just weed control and cleaning up some of those maybe messier spaces can have a really big impact on what visitors see when they first enter your community. And then those community entrances, what they look like as well. So, what is your community doing to prepare for visitors? What have you guys tried? Anyone have anything to share? Oops, everyone's quiet. I
I will
think,
say, I will,
yep, go ahead.
I'll add, our office, Tri-County, we don't do a lot with our visitors, but it is something we have been talking about with the customer service and how can we help businesses local. Like we have a ton of small businesses. So how can we help them? How can we make the overall customer service better? And so that's a discussion we've been having lately amongst the other departments across Williston. But yeah, so we haven't implemented anything us yet, but we are thinking and how could we be better?
Great, yeah. And I think one of the challenges too is especially with business owners and frontline workers, like they're working, so getting them to take time out of their workday to attend something can be hard. So looking at maybe at the time of day you're offering it, or even doing some recordings, so that they can share those with staff
Hmm.
can be impactful as well. I know sometimes when we do frontline workers training, I mean, we're going to um, several different places, more than once, so that you're getting all of the shifts in, and that can be really time consuming on staff too. So looking at just providing a video update to them and maybe some printed resources that they can have with them at their sales
Yeah.
um, counter can help. Um, Party for hospitality businesses, and cover those 101s in the evening. Yep, that can help. Definitely. Anything else that people have tried?
We we started distributing counter plays to local businesses to highlight our opera house to make sure people who were having lunch at the restaurant or stopping at a store had access to a very simple brochure with our hours and our what we have there. And that's that I think most of the businesses are very more than happy to put out information about your organization, your business, and
Mm-hmm.
share that information. So that we've done that, and then the other thing we worked with the state highway department to erect historical information signs along the main highway,
Mm-hmm.
and it comes with a cost and it takes time to do. But if you have a historic angle to it, they're willing to put up those brown historical information signs directing peer, alerting people that are driving along the highway to that It is a historic site. That's been well received. And
Yeah, thanks for sharing. That's a great point. That can be a resource for some help with some signage is partnering with the Historical Society if there's spots that qualify for that. That is another thing, like just educating people about the history of your area is really important too, and where to go for that information. There's also a message that in December we host why is my chat box so small? Um Christmas. Oh, I read that one for hospital. We had a virtual frontline worker training with spin-offs. My box is so small. So a virtual frontline worker training. And she's willing to send oh, there's the link for it in the chat. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, all great ideas. I think just knowing some interesting facts about the community can be an important part of frontline workers training too. People like that history and to know different things. Does anyone know what the highest elevated town in North Dakota is? Not everyone at once. It's actually Rame, North Dakota. So if you, lots of times I use that in my introduction, because I live just a mile south of Rame, North Dakota in Bowman County. And so that's actually the highest elevated town in North Dakota. So even just some little tidbits of information like that people can have on hand to share can be impactful. North Dakota Tourism has some great resources. I encourage you to use them. I know their conference is happening right now. They also have, it's on their website now, they have a marketing summit coming up on October 7th in Jamestown. October seems like a long ways away for now, but I know this next season goes very quickly. And then they did some the North Dakota Tourism Road Shows, and if you weren't able to attend those in person, they do have recordings for those. There is my contact information if you have any questions or anything that you would like to share. We're continually working on our North Dakota Association of Regional Councils website and to build resources there. So if you have any resources that would be useful to share there, I welcome that. We touched base a little bit on community resources, and I think branding is a big part of the community. One thing I don't think you can ever have enough of is good quality pictures of your community, of your business. So if nothing else, just if whether you're able to hire a photographer or not, just dedicate some time to taking some pictures, especially, this next season maybe tends to be a little prettier in North Dakota with the green grass and everything growing. But I think you never have enough pictures or videos. Even just testimonials can be really, really impactful. Um, and I can't encourage enough to finding ways to get youth involved, and having them take videos, and help them with some of those social media posts can be really impactful in your communities as well. Does anyone have any questions or resources that they would like to share? Everyone's really quiet. I'm going to stop record.